Greetings from Castle Goring from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, I will plunge right in, if I may, because I have a reasonable amount of ground to cover today, and I am inundated with stuff elsewhere, and I have very little time to spare. I'm sorry. So, without further ado, Diello Wren 39 says, can you confirm the story about Harry being refused permission by the royal family to fly with them? According to sources, Harry had to take a flight on his own. Yes, Harry did have to take a flight on his own. Harry arrived after the announcement had been made. The announcement had been delayed. There was an agreed time for the embargo to be lifted, and it was lifted later than that to accommodate Harry and to accommodate the wavering and the toing and froing that Harry and Meghan caused everybody to be subjected to. But it took no great deal of genius to figure out that there was no likelihood that Harry was going to be welcome on the same flight with his brother William. They do not speak, contrary to what Amid Scabies used to say, and what Sunshine Sacks were busy lying and telling people in the run-up to the Jubilee that they were speaking at least once a week by Zoom and everything was marvellous and happy. No, William sees Harry for what Harry has become. They also did not want Meghan there at all. I think we can get to that a bit later, because that is a very material. Nobody wanted Meghan at Balmoral for reasons that I will go into a bit later. Well, of course, Harry and Meghan are joined at the hip. And there was much toing and froing until he realised that he was either not going to be able to go at all, or then he had to leave Meghan behind. Hopefully, that will answer the question, because it's thanks to Meghan's and Harry's abuse of the rest of the family and of the British people and of the staff that this situation has arisen. Make no mistake about it. And some people's memories are longer than others. I actually relate very well to Prince William's stance. I think it is very considered and very measured and very intelligent. There is no point wasting false hope on certain situations. Elizabeth Hall says, relieved that Meghan did not go up. Harry was there for only 12 hours overnight. If he was iced as he was at the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral, that's a half a sentence, sorry Elizabeth Hall, do you think they will be removed from the line of succession now we have a new king? It's not easy to remove people from the line of succession. It is a legal right by virtue of birth. Your legal rights are usually inalienable. You can surrender them, but it's not usual for them to be able to be taken away except by acts of attainder. I think we've covered acts of attainder in the past, so I'm not going to belabor the point. It is a mechanism whereby Parliament strips titled people of their titles, usually also of their other rights, it has to be said. It used to be applied to traitors, not exclusively, but pretty much exclusively. Was he iced? Res ipsa loquitur. The facts speak for themselves. He was the last up and the first out. And I am informed, hopefully reliably, that he was extremely uncomfortable because he realized that everybody has his measure and nobody trusts him as things stand. Well, you can only foul on people so much before they get the message that you're a stinker. And at that point, they don't want you shooting crap at them. And I think that's pretty much the scenario, at least as I understand it. His relations within the family are evidently dire. Nobody trusts him. Nobody likes him. They may love him, but they don't like him. Certainly none of the people I am understood who were in attendance at Balmoral trusts Harry as far as they can see him, and they don't like him. They may love him, but they don't like him. Also, the fact that Harry was trying to get Meghan to be inflicted upon everybody because she clings for advantage. And they seem to think that they are joined at the hip. Nobody wanted her there, and everybody put their foot down. That's why Harry not only had to take his own flight, but also why Harry left early. He was uncomfortable. I think one could almost call it a guilty conscience. Louisa C. says, question Lady Campbell, what are the new protocols for curtsies to the Queen Consort, or does that not happen? Thank you. The Queen Consort is the Queen Consort, and it doesn't matter who the person is, the position remains the same. Queen Camilla, if that is going to be her regnant name, consort regnant name, occupies the same position that Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, occupied when she was Queen Elizabeth, the consort of King George VI. The identical position as well that Queen Mary occupied when she was the Queen Consort of George V. The identical position that Queen Alexandra occupied when she was the consort of King Edward VII. Everybody curtsies to her. Everybody. unless, of course, they choose not to. But if you're in royal circles and you don't curtsy to people and give them the deference and respect that is their due, believe me, you're not embraced. You're not embraced. Nobody likes people who treat them with disrespect or willfully fail to extend the courtesies. It's as simple as that. I'm pretty sure you don't like it if somebody doesn't extend you the courtesies. And therefore, the rule applies, including with Queen's Consort. Ziadie-Campbell says, "My beautiful lady, I have a question for you. Thank you. But before I do so, I must say that listening to your words about the great Queen Elizabeth II calmed me down. Thank you for that. My pleasure. That was one of the many intentions. I also find comfort through what you said. I find comfort in knowing that the Queen passed away peacefully and that she was dealing with a lesser painful version of the bone disease. I'm sure we can all come to the conclusion which kind it was. Quite so. Now to my question. There are many people on Reddit and Quora talking about the Narkle children getting the HRH and Prince Princess title. I wonder if you can clarify this for us. Is it really true that they are officially HRH Prince and Princess, or does King Charles III make that decision in the following days? Much love to you, and I don't know many women who can rock any color, even black, like you do. Thank you so much. Then 3 kisses. Oh dear. Thank you. Oh, well, yes, under the ruling of George XVII in 1917, the grandchildren in the male line, not the female line, in the male line of the sovereign are invariably princes and princesses and royal highnesses. There have been other highnesses and royal highnesses who were prevented from, discouraged from, or simply didn't use the princely titles. The first was Princess Maud. Princess Maud was the granddaughter of King Edward VII through his daughter. And she was raised from ducal rank to princely rank, as was her sister, Princess Alexandra. Princess Alexandra had no problems because she became Her Royal Highness Princess Arthur of Connaught. She married her first cousin once removed. Princess Maud married the Earl of Southesk. And when George V acceded to the throne, he informed Princess Maud that hereafter she was supposed to cease referring to herself as Her Highness Princess Maud and to become Lady Southesk. She still retained a princely rank. At the coronations, she still wore the robes of a royal princess. However, she was Lady Southesk. There are two other current cases of people of princely rank who do not use the princely title or the qualification Royal Highness, namely Prince Edward's son James Viscount Severn and his daughter Lady Louise Windsor. They are correctly Prince James of Wessex and Princess Louise of Wessex. However, they do not use their princely rank. They use the style titles of a non-royal earl, which their father is a royal earl, but they use the titles of a non-royal earl. So James is Lord Severn and Louise is Lady Louise Windsor. It doesn't matter at this juncture whether Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, which I have to tell you, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but they do sound awfully like characters in a comic book, which I think is very unfortunate for the two children. But if you have tasteless parents, you can end up being figures of fun or mockery, gratis your parents' complete lack of discernment and taste. Let us see what they end up being styled as. I don't want to jump any guns, and I am going to remain absolutely stum on this subject. Let us see how things develop. Okay? Susie UK says, "Thank you, Lady C, for your inside knowledge and for sharing this with us. I think my questions would be about changes in royal titles. Prince William and Catherine are already now the Duke and Duchess of Cornwall. Automatically? Question mark. And I'll break it up and answer that right now. Yes, automatically. The male heir to the monarch, whether it is a male or a female monarch, is automatically the Duke of Cornwall. Upon the accession of his parent, he becomes the Duke of Cornwall. He has to be created the Prince of Wales. And my understanding is that it's only a matter of time before King Charles will create Prince William, Duke of Cornwall and Cambridge, Prince of Wales, which is as it ought to be. Now, to continue the question, automatically, so that part is automatic. But will they now become the Prince and Princess of Wales? My understanding is yes, they will. I mean, let's give things a bit of time, okay? Rome wasn't built in a day, and everything cannot happen immediately. But my understanding is yes, Prince William will become the Prince of Wales, and Catherine will become the Princess of Wales, which I think is wholly suitable. Is this within the gift of the new king, or do other factors come into play? The same question might go to the other titles like the Duke of Edinburgh. I would love to know how the process of royal titles works going forward, and how some titles seem automatic and others not so. Thank you." Well, as I said, the title Duke of Cornwall is automatic. The title Prince of Wales is not. the title Duke of Edinburgh is not automatic if it is in abeyance. It becomes automatic if the Duke of Edinburgh has a son who, upon his death, becomes Duke of Edinburgh. But this has not happened. Why has it not happened? Because Prince Edward, who was promised the Dukedom of Edinburgh, is the third son. It is the first son that inherits the titles Duke, etc., because they are titles in their own right. He was created Earl of Wessex. He will need to be created Duke of Edinburgh. There has been speculation and chatter over the years that King Charles would not make Prince Edward Duke of Edinburgh and that he would make Harry Duke of Edinburgh. I think that is idle chatter and always was. He's already Duke of Sussex. He doesn't need to be Duke of anything else. Some people would even say maybe he should be divested of the Dukedom of Sussex. So hopefully this has answered the question. Stranger in Moscow 1 says, some of these names. Having thought about this since yesterday, I am now convinced that there has been a very good reason why Lady C broke the sad news first on her channel. No, I refuse to believe what some have said. That is clickbaiting, monetizing, etc. Get a grip. Lady C is no fool. She would never trade in her impeccable etiquette in such important matters for a few coins. No, there is something afoot. I look forward to an explanation in her next video, which I am sure will clarify this matter and put to rest the initial confusion and yes, even outrage that many of us have felt. Stranger in Moscow on. Very well put. Thank you. And respectfully put. And I'm always happy to answer questions when I am treated with respect, and I'm afraid I don't cow easily. And people who try to abuse me and force things out of me find that they don't get them. But people like you, yes, I'm happy to answer. I am no fool. I think you'd have to be pretty stupid to think I was. So I agree with that, and thanks for the article of faith. Would I be doing something for shekels? I mean, give me a break. I'm the woman who turned down one of the richest men on earth. Had I married him and divorced him, I'd have been worth tens of millions. Had I married him and waited for him to die, I'd have been worth $51 billion. People have to be really pretty penny anti-idiotic to think that I, with my disposition and the opportunities I have turned down, and the, shall we say, substance that I already possess, would be cheapening myself for clearly things that they would cheapen themselves for. So I get that they're projecting their greed and opportunism onto me. And I'm delighted that Stranger in Moscow on has spotted that it would be ill-advised to place such things in my yard. Let's put it that way, to use a mechanism. I was not the first person to make the announcement. The announcement was made at 3:09 by the BBC. It was also made by The Guardian. It was made by other people. It was made by a certain prince. There were things going on behind the scenes which I am not prepared to go into, that made it imperative that the situation could not be used to the detriment of the family. It was imperative, the decision was taken that it was imperative that the time of the Queen's death be fixed so that certain mischief-making and opportunistic individuals couldn't try to pretend that they could muscle in on the scene, pretending that they wanted to see her before she died, when she was already dead. That's just one of the many considerations that kicked in. There were many other considerations that kicked in. One of which, as I have already said, was that two separate, well-established media organizations had already announced the Queen's death. They backtracked, but there was no guarantee that other mavericks within both those organizations wouldn't do what they had already done. Do you begin to see that things are often a little bit more complex than Google-eyed people think they are? I mean, honestly, life may be simple, but it's not puerile. And just because things might be simple doesn't mean they don't have layers and nuances. There's a difference between simple and simplistic. I don't think I need to say any more. I think a man convinced against his will is of the same conviction still. And if people wish to be convinced as to their mistaken opinions, I am not going to lower myself to try to convince them more than giving a reasonable explanation that rational, sensible people will understand. I am not going to allow people to cast me in the role of somebody in the stocks because they like throwing stones. And quite frankly, I would have thought that people who look at this channel by now should have my measure pretty well. If they don't, they shouldn't waste their time being on the channel. I can live without them, and I would suggest they live without me. I'm begging nobody for anything, including understanding. I'm laying my cards on the table, as I have always done, because I believe in life in according everybody the respect that they deserve, and that includes people making up their own minds and coming to their own conclusions. It's always helpful if they actually engage their mind instead of their tongue. However, not everybody has the gift of engaging a mind. So I hope that I have made it absolutely clear within the limited amount of information that I am able to give you, why the announcement was made when it was made. Yes, it was made after various news organizations and various individuals had been mischievously trying to create havoc. It was also made as a result of various mischief makers doing the most bizarre and dreadful things and posting the most awful things about the Queen and the royal family, which I am not prepared to go into. I mean, that level of filth I will not engage with whatsoever. I am prepared to explain so that those people who have been misled into coming to a false conclusion have the opportunity to come to the right conclusion. Everybody else, I really couldn't care less what they think about me. And if that sounds dismissive, I am dismissing them because they're not worth knowing and they're not worth having in my life. And I do not do this because I'm a suck-up merchant. I do this because I happen to believe it has value. And any day it has none, I will cease doing it. It's as simple as that. People need to understand that in life, some of us actually have integrity and character, and not all of us are easy targets or easy whipping posts. I will continue with the next observation, which is from Christine McGinley. I am a little perplexed as to why Lady C announced Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth's death before the official announcement from the royal family. She was privileged to receive the information early, but was it really her information to share? Well, let me put it this way. I wasn't going to be doing anything idly or irresponsibly. And was it my information to share? No. It was everybody's information for me to share. And did you really think I was going to wait in the back of the queue while all sorts of mischief makers made hay while the sun shone first? And did you think that I'm the sort of person who was going to sit back and allow mischief makers to create havoc and cause all sorts of problems, none of which, fortunately, have materialized, but easily could have materialized? No, no, no. And who doesn't like it doesn't have to like it. I make no apologies for doing what I regard as right and proper. And in certain circumstances, one needs to use one's brains and one's character to head off a greater evil. And also, for what it's worth, there was a media embargo. The Guardian is the media. The BBC is the media. I am not the media. I breached no protocols, nor indeed did I do any of this off my own bat. I took advice. I consulted. We were all fully aware of what was going on behind the scenes and what the consequences of doing nothing might be. People want to pillory me for having done something. go right ahead. I don't regret it, and I don't apologize. And who doesn't like the fact that I think some of these people have had one hell of a nerve? Well, tough luck. Some of them have had one hell of a nerve. But I will say, we have investigated, and 90-something% of the comments, in quotes, have been from bots. Yeah, bots. Who do you think is trying to discredit me and damage the stability of this channel? Who do you think? Now, I'm not saying that some ordinary people didn't get swept up in the tide, and I understand that. I understand, and I have no stones to cast where they are concerned. However, I also have no apologies to make for having done the right thing. And so now, GB says, Dear Lady C, I think many of us here would like an explanation regarding your, can I call it, premature announcement of the Queen's death. I stood up for you on, and you mentioned somebody's channel whose name I will not condescend to mention. Somebody whose vocabulary wavers between a 4-letter C word and a 4-letter F word. I'm sorry. I'm not mentioning filth like that. And that individual is perfectly at liberty to make a complete ass of himself. He frequently does it, I am assured. And I am also assured he's a really nasty piece of work, even though he has some merit some of the time. But insofar as I'm concerned, thank you for standing up for me. It has to be said, envy is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Doubtless, if he had been able, he would have run with the news. But of course, he's not able. But then again, the difference between him and me couldn't be more pronounced. I know 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10-letter words. I do not recall that my vocabulary is limited to a 4-letter word that begins with C and rhymes with hunt, and another 4-letter word that begins with F and rhymes with luck. And my announcement, as I hope you have now realized, was not premature. It was very carefully considered by not only me, but several other people. We knew what we were doing, and we knew why we had to do it, and we did it. Am I happy to carry the can? Yes, I am. I happen to think that the Queen deserves what she deserves, and so does King Charles III and Prince William. And more than that, I'm not prepared to say. Francesca says, are Meghalaya's children automatically prince and princess now? Well, we've covered that. If yes, how can this be when proof of their legitimacy, or existence for that matter, is yet to be provided? And by the way, you have been angrily called the C word from, and mentions the creature, whose name I will not deign to defile my mouth with, for releasing this information before the palace made the formal announcement. Can you please respond to what he said? Thank you. I'm not responding to what he said. I don't dignify filth with a comment. Thank you very much. I have responded elsewhere to the circumstances. But to that, I don't think so. Thank you very much. It is infradig, beneath my dignity, and I will not be doing it. Insofar as the legitimacy or existence of the children would be concerned, well, I think their existence has been proven. As for the rest, I do not think this is either the time or the place to go into it. So if you do not mind, I will draw a veil over that matter. And for what it's worth, I'm not prepared to address the issue of the announcement of the Queen's death any further. Who doesn't like it doesn't have to like it. I'm not prepared to address the issue hereafter. I have addressed it quite sufficiently, and who is satisfied with the explanation, great. And who isn't, I couldn't give a continental damn less. And for the sake of clarity, I will explain to those of you who deserve an explanation as to why I don't give a continental damn less. And the reason couldn't be simpler. I do this because I enjoy having a conversation with those of you who enjoy having a conversation with me. I am not going to be sucked in by people who wish to abuse me and who wish to terrorize me and who wish to hurl abuse and stones and be irrational and unreasonable and to have bots occupying this site. I'm just not prepared to play that game. Those of you who are in tune with my thinking will appreciate the fact that I don't play certain games. I don't believe in destructiveness, and I don't believe in nastiness for its own sake. I am far too old, and it has to be said, far too experienced to have penny ante jerks creating havoc in my life and thinking I'm gonna crawl on a naked belly across broken glass to accommodate their good opinion. I couldn't care less about their good opinion. I couldn't care less about them. I don't want people like that in my life. I don't want people like that on this channel. This channel has the reputation of being one of the most erudite, intelligent, reasonable, sophisticated, well-informed and well-educated channels on YouTube. I'm not having people drag it and me down to their irrational, mean level. It's as simple as that. And I hope I've made my position very clear, because this is where I stand, and I'm not budging. I've never been one to sell myself or anybody else out, and I'm not about to start at 73, and I'm certainly not about to start for the good opinion of people whose opinions matter not one jot to me. Yes, the opinions of people who respect me and who I respect, those matter to me. But people who have no respect for me and no respect for the truth and no respect for decency, do you really think I'm wasting my time on them? Because I'm certainly not. And I hope this clarifies the situation and makes my position as crystal clear as I intend it to be. One of my guiding mottos has always been clarity where possible. And I'm not about to surrender it for a few bots and a few SS people. The SS is dangerous, whether it's in the 1930s, 40s, 20s, or now. In whatever reincarnation it exists, it is a deplorable organization, but it doesn't frighten me. And on that note, I will say, hopefully this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell. And remember, keep the questions and comments coming in. This cannot be done without you. God bless and goodbye.